it's Emma, and today I'm going to be talking about all of the spoilery things in A Conjuring of Light by VE Schwab. This is the third and last book in the Shades of Magic trilogy, which I love and have been obsessing over for the past couple of months. I was scared to death to read this book because it's the last one and I'd heard that it was really emotional, so I was just nervous that everyone was going to die. So I put it off for a while, and then once I started reading it, I was reading it really slowly because I was just so scared. I can't remember the last time it took me this long to read a book. It took me longer than A Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss, which is over 1,000 pages long. That being said, in my opinion, this was freaking perfect. I have absolutely no complaints with this last book. It just did everything that I wanted it to do. I loved where VE Schwab took the plot. So I have a lot of things that I would like to talk about. I'm just gonna rant about all the things that gave me the most feels. I am going to be making a spoiler-free trilogy overview review for those of you who have not read A Conjuring of Light, or the other books if you haven't read any of them. So if you want to know more about the series, turn this video off and wait until I put that video up, because it should be up either Wednesday or the next time I post after Wednesday. If you have not read A Darker Shade of Magic, A Gathering of Shadows, and A Conjuring of Light, you should definitely turn this video off right now, because I'm going to just launch into all the spoilers and spoil everything. And because this is an absolutely wonderful series, I don't think you want to be spoiled for it. I think you should wait and read the books and then come back. And then you can listen to me cry over this book. By the way, sorry if there are weird banging and stuff in the background. We did a trip to IKEA yesterday, so my family is putting together a whole bunch of furniture right now. I did not take notes while reading this book. I kind of kept notes on my phone while I was reading, but they were not in-depth notes. It was just page numbers. This video is going to be all over the place, and so much happened that there's no way I can talk about it all. I'm just gonna launch in and see what I want to talk about. First thing that I want to talk about is Holland's backstory, because I loved Holland in the other books. Even in the first book, I didn't despise Holland. He did terrible things, but mostly terrible things were being done to him. So I just had a lot of sympathy for him and a lot of feelings about this character who was so gray. This book just brought that to an entirely other level because his backstory was so heartbreaking. I definitely cried the most about Holland-related things. His brother tried to kill him, and then he killed his brother, and then his girlfriend tried to kill him, and then he killed his girlfriend, and then he makes one friend in the whole world who becomes the king. I was semi-relieved when Vortalis died, because I was scared that he was going to betray Holland. I thought that's where this was going, because his brother betrayed him and his girlfriend betrayed him. I was this king guy is going to get scared and think Holland's going to take over, so he's going to just try and kill Holland, and then Holland's going to kill his only friend. But thankfully that's not what happened. It was pretty frustrating to see how Alucard and Lila treated Holland, knowing what he had been through and knowing where all of his coldness comes from. And I loved Kel for being compassionate and trying to be kind of a friend to Holland, even though it didn't really work. I loved Kel for that. It just made him that much more endearing. You almost don't have any hope for him in the end. I didn't really have hope that he was going to become king of White London, but that just made his ending that much more heartbreaking. I wasn't really hoping, and then when it didn't happen, this makes sense. This is kind of fitting for Holland. I thought it was good writing that Holland's life ended the way it did. It just was so sad. I wanted White London to somehow there to be some hope of growth and magic coming back or something, even if Holland still died. Honestly, I just want an entire other series in this world, because there is so much that was unresolved. You know that scene on the ship when they were on their way to the market? I forget what the market was called, but you know what I'm talking about. And Cal and Lila are making out, and the whole ship is going crazy. And Alucard just bursts in and is stop with the ship. And then Kel and Lila start laughing. I laughed for 10 minutes or more over that. I could not stop laughing. Alucard was wet because he'd gotten tossed into the ocean or whatever. Most books have that one point where it just kicks in, and from that moment on I'm screaming the whole time. For me, in this one, it was when Lila got her black eye. That was so good. That was so satisfying. Character development wise, it was like she was moving on from her past, the way that she had built up walls, and was now embracing being an Antari and being strong. And it was just so good. Lila has always been my favorite character, and seeing her development in this book was just amazing. Her letting down her walls and feeling safe with Kel and deciding not to run, embracing Kel, was just so nice to watch. It made me so happy to see Lila developing in that way and being able to trust someone. A character who really surprised me in this one was Rye. Rye was like the hero of this book. He was amazing. The way that he held it all together and how much he loved his people. The way that he went out and searched for survivors all night long and was just such a beacon of hope to his people. I was like cheering for him. In the first book, Rye was just kind of like this, flirty, like having fun type of prince. And then everything that he went through up until this point, it reminded me of Nikolai from the Gersha trilogy. Without a doubt, my favorite scene in the whole book was on page 469. I think it carries over to 470. I'm just going to read it because this scene was so beautiful. It like captures everything that I'm trying to say about Rye and why I loved him so much in this one. Myths do not happen all at once. They do not spring forth whole into the world. They form slowly, rolled between the hands of time until their edge is smooth, until the saying of the story gives enough weight to the words, to the memories, to keep them rolling on their own. But all stories start somewhere, and that night, as Rye Maresh walked through the streets of London, a new myth was taking shape. This was the story of a prince who watched over his city as it slept, who went on foot for fear of trampling one of the fallen, who wove his way between the bodies of his people. Some would say he moved in silence with only the gentle clang of his golden armored steps echoing like distant bells through the silent street. Some would say he spoke, that even in the far-off darkness, the sleeping heard him whisper over and over, "You are not alone." Some would say it never happened at all. Indeed, there was no one there to see it. But Rye did walk among them, because he was their prince, and because he could not sleep, and because he knew what it was like to be held by a spell and to be dragged into darkness, to be bound by something and yet feel utterly alone. A sheen of frost was settling over his people, making them look more like statues than men and women and children. The prince had seen fallen trees slowly swallowed by moss, pieces of the world slowly reclaimed, and as he moved through the crowd of fallen, he wondered what would happen if London stayed under this spell a month, a season, a year. Would the world climb up over the sleeping bodies? Would it claim them inch by inch? It began to snow in earnest, strange close as they were to spring, but not the strangest thing befalling London then. And so Rye brushed the ice from still cheeks, tore canvas down from the ghostly bones of the night market, and took blankets from homes now haunted only with the memories of breath. And patiently the prince covered each and every person he found, though they did not seem to feel the cold beneath their shrouded safety of spellwork and sleep. The chill ate at the prince's fingers. It seeped through armor and into aching skin. But Rye did not turn back, did not break his vigil until the first light of day broke the shell of darkness, and the dawn thinned the frost. Only then did the prince return to the palace and fall into bed and sleep. Yeah. Seeing this and how much he cares for his people and seeing him have such wisdom made me absolutely sure that he's going to be a fantastic king. Plot-wise, I thought the whole book was perfect. I thought that the ending was absolutely perfect. I loved the whole idea of the rings and the way that they had to learn to, give up their power to be able to get more powerful. Kel and Lila and Holland would not have been able to work together like that at the beginning of this series. So seeing them give ground and be willing to work together to share their magic, even though it's a weakness and a strength, I loved that. How Kel kind of lost a piece of himself. Not that I wish she had told us more, but I'm still curious about after the book ended. I really like how VE Schwab left a lot of it up to our imaginations as far as the small details. We never found out who Kel's parents were. Kind of thought that was going to be a big plot thing. We were going to find out Kel's whole history, but I really liked that Kel didn't feel the need to know who his parents were, and he accepted that Rye was his family, and even the king and queen were his family, and he didn't feel the need to know, and so we didn't find out. The whole thing with Kel's magic, some of it being taken, or how it hurt him in the end to use magic, I don't know, maybe VE Schwab has said whether she would ever do more books in this world. If you know, if VE Schwab has already answered this question before, please let me know down in the comments whether she would consider doing more books in this world or whether she plans to or something, because it does feel like she left it open for a different trilogy based on like different characters, but I wouldn't be complaining if she decided to write more books in this world. I would love to see White London be like revamped and become healthy again. That would be amazing. One thing that I really enjoyed is how VE Schwab took time to address the friendships as well as the romantic relationships. I feel like Lila and Alucard's relationship got almost as much time as Alucard and Rye's relationship. I really liked that she kept that friendship dynamic an important part even after there were love interests for both of them. It would have been like more typical for them to have that kiss in like book 2 or whatever, and then just have him be like one of those characters who's not really love interest but is kind of love interest. But instead it was a friendship, and that wasn't really a big deal that they had kissed that one time, but their friendship was a big deal. She just took the time to make that a focus and make it important. This is a tiny little thing, but it's an example of something that V.E. Schwab does in this book that I really loved. When Alucard got his emerald ripped out, like his piercing, I was really upset. Not gonna lie, I was super upset because it was such like a Alucard thing. But then she turned it into like this huge manifestation of how much his character has changed and how he's going to become this new Alucard. He's not the pirate anymore, he's not the nobleman anymore, and now he has this new scar that like is just a tiny little detail, but it focuses you so much on his character development. She does that all the time in these books, like Lila's eye and Kel putting on a new coat. In the last scene, Kel found a new coat in his coat. That's a tiny little thing, but I was freaking out because it was a huge proof of what they've been through and how they've changed throughout the story. I was so happy with the ending. I was really conflicted as to what I wanted to happen. Like, did I want Kel to stay with Rye and help him rule, or did I want him to be able to go off and adventure and kind of like have time to himself? And I'm really, really happy with how it ended. Lila's not running anymore because she's with Kel. And then Alucard staying behind and being with Rye just was so good. I was on the verge of tears the entire day after I finished this book because of that one part. At the end, when Kel's on the boat and Rye's on the balcony and they're like waving to each other. I've compared this to Harry Potter a couple times, but it was Harry Potter level of ending perfect. I have this one random note left, and I'm not sure where this happened in the book, but it was important enough for me to write down. It just says Alucard with silver clips in his hair. I think it was when he was going to the throne room to like court Rye officially. I think he had silver clips in his hair then, and that's what I was talking about, but apparently that was really important to me. I just remembered that I have to talk about Lenos and Hastra, the young guard and the young pirate guy. Those deaths really hurt me. The part at the end where Kel has his plan and he goes to Tiernan to ask him to fix it. Tiernan says, "Leave it be, the blossom will crumble, the stem and leaves too. That's what they're for. Asina strengthens the soil so that other things can grow." I was so attached to Hastra, and him playing that part, like the plant parallel, just like blew my mind. I was freaking out. I was crying actually. Again, I actually kept account of how many times I cried, but then I got to the ending of the book and I just like cried during the whole ending, so I lost count. That's all I'm going to talk about for Conjuring of Light. Like I said, I'm going to do a trilogy spoiler-free review in some form, so that should be up this week. If I didn't talk about anything that you want to talk about, leave it down in the comments and I will try to, chat with you guys, because talk about this book forever. There's so much that I want to talk about, like so much, but I have to stop now. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button. I'm Miss Emma Reedslot on all of my social media, which I will link down in the description box. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon with a new video.